marami sa pumalit ay mga Pilipino. I want
Tsaka
to make
mabait
this
kasi
clear,
tayo,
no?
bro. Eh.
Hindi, yung mga trabahong nakuha ng Pilipino ay hindi lang mga trabaho ng Palestino. Halimbawa, 137
37, yeah,
Yeah,
evacuate na through the
yeah.
Rafah border, yeah.
Yes,
So we have
yes.
to talk to
Pero
Egypt
sa
too, yeah.
Israel, marami ha. Marami
Yeah,
sa Israel.
50,000, right? I mean, officially 29,
Yung
yeah.
legal, no? But the
Officially
other
29, yeah, officially
Yeah,
29, yeah.
yeah. So, yun.
Yeah, you're right. Yun nga, parang, kasi napansin ko ganito, I think we're about to end this episode. Gusto ko magpahinga ka na rin. No, the thing kasi is, pagdating sa civil society, pagdating sa conferences, alam mo naman, lamang ang Pinoy, di ba? Mayabang tayo eh. Talagang madaldal ang Pinoy Indians usually with some Singaporeans. Pero yung gobyerno natin parang hindi ganun eh. Very, I mean, magaling yung mga nasa DFA, but I think generally we lack that kind of, pizzazz, that kind of panache, no? Na parang yung level of, di ba, sa mga civil society meetings internationally, parang ating mga Pinoy ay front and center, di ba? Ang galing-galing ng Pinoy. Pero pagdating sa international diplomacy, very, very diffident, I think, sometimes tayo. Even if napakagaling talaga yung mga diplomats natin. I know them personally, a lot of them. We have Yusek De Vega, who's fantastic, brilliant guy. Teresita. Yeah, I mean, Daza, she's fantastic. I mean, so but I think generally, dahil nga medyo, yun nga dahil medyo ipit tayo, dahil sa vulnerabilities natin and all, and dahil siguro kulang ng signal from above, from the president and all, medyo masyadong cautious, I think. I mean, matapang ang DFA ngayon sa West Philippine Sea, which is good. Right? But
Yes.
my thing is, it has to go beyond that. We are 13th largest country by population, right? So we should act as a top 15 countries in the world, and we should be one of the top 10 global South leaders, for that matter, and one of the top 3 leaders in ASEAN, along with Indonesia and Singapore, something like that, right? I mean, this should come natural to us, right? And for some reason, we're always seen as, America's friends in Asia. American side na yan. So kung ano America side, yan na yung side nila. So I think we have to push back against that because that's not helpful, and it's creating unnecessary tension or dismissiveness. As a Filipino, I can feel that when I say, "Oh, no, of course you're pro-American guy." They cannot tell that to me because they know I'm very critical about the U.S. But they can say, "But yeah, Richard, but you're unique, right?" I always tend to get that. So parang my sense is we have to push that, no, Ronald?
Yeah. Ako naman yung magtatanong sa iyo, Richard, no? Anong ibig mo sabihin ng Global South?
Yes,
Dahil
yes,
in a multipolar world, even the Global South appears multipolar, no?
Sure.
Halimbawa, pinagmamalaki ng China na Brazil is in their ambit. I think that's not totally true. No? In terms of trade, perhaps, yes. In terms of exports or imports of soybean from Brazil, I think that's true. No? The main beneficiary of the BRI in Latin America is Brazil. But still, Brazil won't agree to the kind of political system in China. They won't agree to the issues in the South China Sea, in the West Philippine Sea. No? So, hindi siya ganun kasimple. No? South Africa is close to Russia. No? Dahil during apartheid, most of them were hiding in Russia. Most of them were being supported by Russia. But in terms of political system, I think they're very far away from the autocratic Russian political system. India is close to Russia like China, but definitely India is very critical of China. So you cannot call them as part and parcel of the Global South. So it's medyo hindi ganun ka-accurate pag sinabi natin na the Global South is like this. No? The Global South is closer to China and Russia. No? Farther from the West.
Thank you for that. But as you can see, I anticipated that. So as I wrote in my op-ed today sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, I said, in fairness, both concepts of the West and Global South can be at times misleading. I'm using exactly. Thanks to the immense diversity of views and interests, especially in the developing world. Not to mention our East Asian nations such as Japan, Western, or check, for instance, Ireland and Norway, who have very different take on the recent conflict in the Middle East and far more critical of what's happening in Gaza. Nevertheless, ang argument ko kasi dito is, there are some least common denominators that Global South countries share, right? The same way that there are least common denominators that the so-called West share. I mean, the least common denominator for the West is that they have to be liberal democratic societies, right? Kaya even when they have an Orban or Trump, they try to squeeze those guys in. I mean, you have those pictures of Trump on one side, the rest of G7 on the other, right? So there's some list. I think on the global South, it's not true that we're with China. A lot of us were very critical of Russia, but at the same time, I think in the global South, one thing that we all have in common is that we're since we are still poor and developing countries, we're much more cautious about picking fights or joining sanctions regime, right? That's why very few Asian countries joined the sanctions regimes against Russia, even though they didn't like what happened to Ukraine. And at the same time, let me be very clear about this, Ronald. I mean, let's be honest. Whether you're Brazilian, Filipino, I sense this. I mean, when I'm in a conference, when our Western counterparts, when I say West, mostly Anglo America, really, right? A little bit with Germany and France. So Norwegians, Irish, quite different, right? Sometimes when they say something, medyo nagtitinginan kami ng iba in a sense that, for instance, they talk about rules-based order. It's like, whose rules? What order? Like before Ukraine, there was wars in Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq. Didn't that count? But suddenly after Ukraine is invaded, they suddenly talk about the rules-based order. So, and then there's also this idea of it's like when some person of Caucasian background, something happens to them, the coverage is all over the place. But have you noticed, Ronald, how much coverage was given to the Filipinos who were massacred in Israel, right? Or Thai citizens. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much systemic prejudice and structural prejudice there that it's hard not to notice if you're from Brazil, South Africa, Philippines, or even Singapore's of this world, if you're not part of the quote unquote West. So much so that I think even Japan, which is supposed to be part of G7, they also sometimes feel they're not fully Western, and that's why they also have a different. You get what I'm saying? Like there's certain least common denominators, which I think whether you're Chinese, whether you're Brazilian, whether you're Filipino, can agree upon because of our colonial history, because of some things that we experience that your average, I don't know, British, American, or German doesn't experience. Do you get what I'm saying? And then they have these certain narratives that I think is very Eurocentric and tends to forget what you mean rules-based order. How can you talk about rules-based order when millions died in Iraq and Afghanistan? And Libya, look at the mess happened there. So I think when I say global south, there is some common denominator. There's, kumbaga kung may Venn diagram yun, you're right. There's so much diversity. I said that. There are issues where we are totally against China, right? And Brazil is against Russia or but if you draw a Venn diagram, there is some significant degree of overlap in our experiences and sense of vulnerabilities that I think we can bring together. And I think if you look, as I said, I can Turkey, Brazil, India, China, I can go on and on. Most of these countries, all of them were clear. There has to be a just peace solution to this, that you shouldn't also forget the lives and the rights of Palestinians. You don't see that balance in the statement of many Western countries, with the exception of Norway, Ireland, or Japan, for instance, right? So this is what I'm talking about. So you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean we're monolithic. It doesn't mean we have 100% overlap. China is our rival, if not enemy, on West Philippine Sea. But in a way, we're all developing countries with certain very dark, traumatic experiences. And when you go to US, suddenly all of us are Asians worrying about anti-Asian racism, for instance, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm talking about those common denominators where we can work together while acknowledging we're not on the same page 100% of the time. We're not. We're definitely not. So that's the context of the global South I'm talking about. But Ronald, I mean, don't you also feel it? I mean, you have lived a little bit longer than me so far on Earth, right? So, I mean, don't you also sense that the world is changing a little bit? I mean, my sense is during my dad's time, if you're not white or from the West, you will feel it more that you're second-class citizen in the world. Nowadays, parang mas cool maging Asian, right? I mean, even if some of us could pass as half white or have like you rather say you're Asian because this is dynamism. This is where history is happening. Are you feeling that? Have you noticed that, Ronald? Because I noticed that as a millennial.
Partly dahil sabi mo nga, the least common denominator dito sa Global South ay yung ating common history under colonialism. Diba? Yun yung isang minimum least common denominator. No? Ako lang, minsan nag-react ako dun sa reductionism na itong BRICS is the global south.
No, no, no,
Itong
no, no.
BRI,
No.
itong
Yeah, yeah.
BRI na ngayon ay
I agree.
nag-gather sa Beijing, this is the global south.
No, no,
Yung minsan doon ako nag-react.
Yeah.
Not you, yung ibang mga groups.
Yung Bakery Forum.
Oh.
Yung Bakery
Yeah.
Forum. BRICS,
Oh.
whatever.
Yeah, tawag nila, this is the new global south. Doon
Yeah.
ako nag-react. No?
Yes.
Because there's nothing global southy about this. About this, no? Ayun yun. Kaya,
It's very China Empire thing. It's a China Empire thing. Yeah.
Yun yung
No, I completely agree with you. Kaya I'm very so obviously on West Philippine Sea issue, we're gonna have many disagreements with fellow developing countries who are closer to China than us, right? Um, uh, so I completely agree with you. We're not 100% on the same board, but yes, our past colonial experience, our struggles with structural prejudice, with being treated as second-class citizens of this world for so long. I'm not saying it's fault of every, I don't know, Western person, but this is legacy of centuries of colonialism. But now suddenly, if you're from India, you're from Brazil, you're from Turkey, and hopefully from Philippines, etc., you're gonna feel that, hey, maybe we have a little bit of more of a voice, because most of the institutions that we see today, IMF, World Bank, whatever, we didn't have much of a say, right, in their establishment. They were really products of Western organ. So for a very long time, the so-called West, especially Anglo-America or the Anglo-Saxon world, had monopoly on global governance. I think that's going away. Now, that doesn't mean we'll jump to the Chinese boat, but to a certain degree, the rise of China has created a new reboot, reset. And I think in this reset, there's a room for us to carve out some voice, because I just feel we tried to have that voice when we had the Carlos P. Romulos of the world, but bigla mapunta ako kay Teddy Boy Locsin eh. Like, never mind. Magda-digress na ako eh. But, you know what I'm saying? We don't need, like overcompensating whatever type of people to have that voice. I think we can have that voice by just acknowledging that the world is in transition. Doesn't mean that Asia will be the next superpower necessarily, but is that Asia should not necessarily be a second class or just second fiddle. Yun lang sinasabi ko dito, Ronald, no? But I perfectly agree. I don't like what others are doing. In fact, that's the reason why Indonesia did not join BRICS. Indonesia was invited to the BRICS Plus. They turned it down because they said, that's increasing the China club, right? And no, we want to join the OECD, which is the club of the rich, developed, democratic countries. So you're absolutely right. And for me, I like the Indonesia way of doing things. And I think Indonesia could be kind of a role model for us because of so much similarities we have with them, in spite of some differences because we are a US treaty ally,
and
etc.
Even if India is in the BRICS, now I think the emerging dynamic in the world now, with the waning American superpower, I think in the near future it could be India and China.
Yeah, competing for influence here. Yeah, I mean, just on a very how should I, parang non-threatening. I mean, so since last year I've been traveling. The tourists I see more, they're Indians, middle class Indians. Dressed in designer clothes and all of that. India is the new superpower in many ways. They're not rich yet. They still have huge problems, but they're a huge country and they're gonna flex their muscle and all. So this century is gonna look very different from what we used to be when I don't know, tiny Belgium or Switzerland could walk around as if they're a superpower. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna be really just China, India, Brazil, Saudi, Turkey, and hopefully the Philippines can find some sort of space there. I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, perhaps, but I don't know, Ronald. This is what I like. I mean, I think someone has to start this conversation. I mean, I'm very proud of getting this discussion on industrial policy a little bit sexier. I don't think anyone was talking about industrial policy. And now I'm also in this kind of global South Philippine voice, but not a China-dominated global South, not a bakery forum kind of global South. No, more of a reasonable, para sa bayan kind of global South. Maraming salamat, Ronald. Thank you so much. I think this was really fruitful. I think folks are enjoying. Marami na nagta-trash talk na. Pero sabi nga nung isa, bad ka, Ronald, bad ka. Keep it up, Ronald. Sir Ronald. Thank you very much.
I'm not only bad, I'm evil.
Monster nga, di ba? Monster.
Especially with the jet ski.
And the jet ski, yeah. Wala akong sinabi dyan. Ha? Si Ronald dyan, please don't take it on me. But my suggestion is maybe jet ski is an option for the vice president if she wants to, to push back against the other side.
Sige.
Salamat, God bless, and
See
talk to you
you.
soon. Maraming salamat.
Enjoy. Enjoy Malaysia.
God bless.
Visit Penang.
God bless. Thank you.
Sige.
Whew. Alright, thank you very much everyone. Ayan, tapos na rin itong isa pang letter R. So kahapon was Ruben Carranza, ngayon naman Ronald Llamas. Okay, we're hoping siguro I'll see if with kailan naman next with paring Leloy Claudio. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Maraming salamat sa mga nakikinig sa atin, yung mga nagtatroll sa atin. Thank you for increasing our engagement. We appreciate that. Thank you doon sa mga nice comments, doon sa mga pinost natin na photo lab. Hindi ako gumagawa kasi hindi ako nagda-download ng mga apps. Baka mamaya ma-hack ako. Yung nanay po natin ang gumagawa kung ano, naka 80 photo lab version na siya sa akin. And as some of you know, my first course was actually dentistry, right? So, I was supposed to be more like a doctor or something like that. So siguro yung alternative realities ang chinecheck ng nanay natin. Hopefully naman we didn't turn out too bad. So thank you dun sa mga comments niyo, dun sa yung isa pa natin. Just to be clear, hindi ko kamukha yung mga Tate brothers, okay? Stop it. Puro mga Tate lalo yung isang picture natin na photo lab yung parang may Lamborghini, Maserati. Sorry, I don't do Italian cars, I do German. Okay. On that note, thank you very much mga kameta. I hope you enjoyed this intense discussion, this heartfelt discussion and this forward-looking discussion, because I don't think andito lang kami para mag-bash ng one party or the other. Yes, we have fun, but as you know, below the fun there's a lot of seriousness. And I hope clear rin sa inyo, hindi kami haters dito. I really look forward to us having good, strong relationship with all countries, including China. But at the same time, I want these relationships to be mutually respectful, mutually beneficial, including with the US. Kaya nga sabi ko, it's time for the Philippines to carve out its own position, more independent. Tayo po yung umiikot dito sa ASEAN, Singapore, Malaysia, etc. Tingnan mo yung mga bayan na yan, bansa na yan. Umaasa sila sa sarili nila at sa kanilang mga strategic partnership, hindi sa kanilang aliado. At may problema din sila sa China, pero hindi sila, all-out war mode. Alright? And hindi rin sila tatay digong, bigyan mo yung tubig sa kanila, kunin natin isda kind of geopolitics. No. They're not perfect, but they're doing far better than us, I would say. Shoutout dyan kay Sir Roy. Salamat sa pagtutroll mo. Kahapon ka pa yata, no? Salamat din sa mga joining us from Europe. Social daw. Thank you very much kay Lito Badeo. Salamat for joining us. Wag naman yung Tate. Anong pangalan ng kapatid niya? Andrew ba yun? Grabe naman kayo. Hindi naman ako yung mga tipo nagpa-party sa Dubai tapos may Lamborghini sa likod. Pang formally yan, ha? Okay, as I said, I do German, I don't do Italian. Although yung forma natin more Italian. Aminado naman ako eh. Anyway, thank you very much sa mga nagtatroll sa atin, mga nagmamahal sa atin. Thank you very much kay Kat Rodriguez, kay Eden Olonan, Jocelyn Lumberio, of course, Ma'am Zita Buena. Shoutout naman dyan kay Critical Thinker. Yan. Rizani, Choi Tiaba, Kulas Lemuel Diaz Quinto. Ayun naman, konyo naman tayo magsalita. Lance Ray De Vera, Lizelle Failanga, Libran, Senya, Liz Lusaya, Zubair Sidic, Paul Tenepere. Wala na, nagkakalat na. Salamat kay Rosita Modino, yan. Yan, R&R talaga. Nag-R&R kapon with Ruben, today naman with kaya Christmas bonus. Anong Christmas bonus pinag-usapan? Kayo, mag-Christmas bonus kayo. Magsa-songs kami sa Christmas. Alright, thank you very much. 11 p.m. na. Pahinga na tayo. May mga talks and conferences na tayo. Uy, defensive si Roy. Di daw siya troll. Uy, ganun na yung mga troll ngayon. Defensive na hurt. Hurt ang feelings. Feelings pala mga walang yan. Alright, thank you very much. Also kay Ma'am Noemi Tablare, kay Gemma Aragon. Yan. Para tayong mga DJ. Dapat next time mga DJ. Maraming salamat dito sa natin. Magdi-DJ setup na tayo. Thank you kay Riza Oraya, Jima Kabututan, Maria Diaz, Rogelina Noble, Madrigal Heya, Ano sabi ni Madrigal? Magkamukha kami dun sa fireman work, ano ko? Paano tayo naging kamukha? Paano? Hindi ko gets. Ohay gozaimasu. May nakikita ko Japanese dyan kay Dian. So, Uy Osa, thank you very much for joining us. Kay Alita Pacho, Denzio. Yan. Tuloy siya kakatawa dun sa isang episode. Ano, ay, walang iya talaga. Hindi ko na-press yung record. Brigidia Ruby. Kaya nga natutuwa ako meron tayong itong ganitong version. Para just in case may backup tayo. Oh. Oo naman, nagkakantsawan lang kami. Hindi kami bitter, ha? Hindi kami bitter. Ano lang kami? Sour. On that note, thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.